Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, here with some words of wisdom. And this card is going to be a challenge. Actually, it's not even a card. It's part of a book. It's going to be a challenge for most of us. Most of us. And we're up for a good challenge, right? So I'm excited to share this with you and see what your thoughts are on it. And not just your thoughts, but your feelings. Because this is one of those concepts that when you first hear it, you are likely to say, oh, hell no. But there's a reason why it's written the way it's written. So can't wait to share it with you and see what you think. I'm going to give it a minute here and wait for folks to find me and pop in. But let's start. Oh, there's our first person. Good morning, good morning. Not sure who's here, but Mal, you're first today. Congratulations. So, fine day for youpers today. You're first in line. Woohoo! Let's see who's second. The number just rolled again. Abigail. Good morning, Abigail. You're second on here. Awesome. So people starting to roll in. This is good. Can't wait to share this reading with you because I think most of us are going to struggle mightily with it. And isn't that wonderful? Because that's growth right there. Good morning, Janine. So let's plant that seed that this particular reading, good morning, Cindy. Welcome. Glad you're here. This particular reading, good morning, Gwen, is designed to stir you, is designed to poke at you, is designed to get you to rethink what you've been taught or put into place, really acting on some other things that you've been taught that we kind of pay lip service to on Sunday mornings perhaps, and then it's back to business as usual. So, not anymore. Let's take this on. Let's really run with this. Good morning, Joe Neal. I think you're going to find this one particularly interesting also. So, what I did to pick what we're reading today was I always kind of set intention, and my intention was something that helps us grow, something that helps us grow. So, picked up my outrageous openness, letting the divine take the lead, held it in my hands, and felt very drawn to the front part of the book. So I would say I'm probably, the page that we're on is about a quarter of the way through the book. So then, as I read that chapter, and I because I've made this kind of a mini little Bible, I'm very familiar with this chapter and what the concept is, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's time. Because last night, as I was reading the book, I've read through and I got to the picture part, you know, that one little section of the book where they actually put photos in there to help make the story, and got to a part where I had read about it a little earlier, and here were the pictures that supported that story, and I'm like, wow. I'm not sure I could do that. In fact, I know I probably couldn't. So impressed with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man who could take this particular stance, and this is a stance that Jesus took, and in awe of humans being able to do this. And there are many humans who do this and do this well. And in our American society, it is clearly not something we are trained to do. So, looking forward to sharing it with you. So, a couple of nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Angie. Just was looking at your daughter's graduation pictures. Looks like she had a fun evening and you all did too. So, how awesome. Congratulations. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And one more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm laughing because I had my window open this much last night, and clearly my nose and my throat are telling me the cottonwoods are blooming. So we'll see how snotty I am as we go here. Anywho, outrageous openness, letting the divine take the lead. For those of you who have the book, We are on page number 37, When Shysters Strike. When Shysters Strike. So, and again, like I've always said, kind of tongue-in-cheek, hey, Judy, you found us. I'm glad you're back. Awesome. Yay. Because Judy was having trouble finding us post-shoulder replacement. It wouldn't pop up in her thing as, hey, she's live now. So, apparently that's conquered. Congratulations. I'm glad you're here. Tongue-in-cheek a little bit, I've said that when there's two quotes at the beginning of a chapter in Tosha, it's a great chapter. So this one has two quotes. So here are our quotes. First one is by Kelly Clark. By age 7, I had figured out that if I just did the opposite of what everyone told me, things worked out quite well. And the second one is by Catherine Ponder, who, if you're not familiar with Catherine Ponder, she was like one of the original, let me think of the words, draw it to you kind of people. Way back, way back. Forgiveness is the magnet which draws your endless good. Forgiveness is the magnet that draws your endless good. It wipes clean the slate of the past to let you receive in the present. How many of us? I mean, I think about that with some of the clients I've been working with this week, where because of past wounds, they've got armor on that is preventing current good. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome, welcome. One version of that is the all men are jerks armor. That's certainly going to get in the way of finding a fulfilling relationship, don't you think? So, forgiveness is the magnet which draws your endless good. Love that, love that, love that. So I'm going to read this chapter, and then I'm actually going to read a little section out of the book King, so you can see multiple examples of people actually doing this. And it is kind of mind-boggling because it is so not how our society in America has been set up. Good morning, Holly, welcome. And how currently people are conducting themselves. People often make the worst assumption possible about someone else's behavior. They give no one any grace. They assume the worst. Thank you for putting that in there, Cindy, because I just think that is so powerful. Forgiveness is the magnet which draws your endless good. See what you can do to step into forgiveness. Good morning, Paula. Welcome, welcome. And all of us have those circumstances in our life where someone has done us wrong. And to greater or lesser extent, we may have forgiven. Oftentimes we find down the road, it rears its ugly head again, right? One of you who I coach found that recently when someone passed away. It was like, whoa, trigger all that same old crap, right? I thought I had worked this through. Yes, you have on a particular level. And then we get the opportunity to do it on deeper and deeper and deeper levels. So it's still good work. It's all good work. Good morning, Peggy. Welcome, welcome. So here it is. When Shysters Strike. A guy named Tony got involved with my friend Jane. He was what my Polish Jewish grandmother would have called a smooth shyster. Someone who could manipulate almost anyone. And right now, how often do we hear about narcissists? This person's a narcissist, that person's a narcissist, blah, blah, blah. It's a framework that helps people understand why someone does what they do and how someone does what they do. But here we go. He worked the rounds of Jane's pals, getting each of us to invest $5,000 in his glitzy marketing plan. Hang on, gotta take a drink here. And although he set off as many red flags inside me as an Indy racetrack, I watched in amazement as I forked over my cash just like everyone else. A memorable example of ignoring my gut. But he really was a pro. As time wore on, one concocted obstacle arose after another, all culminating in the shysters vanishing with the money, leaving behind only a disconnected phone. Now, first of all, can you imagine being this friend Jane? All of her friends have just been taken to the cleaners by this dude. Not a fun position to be in, right? And the position of each of those people, because they're now in that pivotal spot of, what do I do with this? Do I bear a grudge for the rest of my life, becoming bitter? Do I find a way to forgive? What do I do here? So let's see what happens. We all had differing reactions. One guy sped off on his Harley for Sebastopol, rumored to be Tony's new home, vowing to find him and break both his frickin' legs. Someone else hired a sleuth. People spent weeks on the phone in victimized rage, but Tony had vaporized. As for me, while I was naive enough to be snookered, at least I knew what spiritual actions to take. And I love that she labeled it a spiritual action. And you're certainly going to see that in the little piece that I read to you from King. It was a spiritual choice that he made. I wanted my peace of mind back more than anything. So I prayed, let me release my karma with Tony by forgiving him and myself. So all of you who are in the place right now of struggling with someone with something, someone who's done you wrong, whether it's a current wound or a past wound, repeat after me. Let me release my karma with blank. Fill in the blank with whoever. Let me release my karma with blank. Good morning, Deb. By forgiving him or her and myself. So let me release my karma with so-and-so by forgiving that person and myself. And Cindy, actually, if you'd put that in there as kind of a sentence stem, I'd appreciate it. Let me release my karma with blank by forgiving him/her and myself. Or put forgiving them, him, her, them, whatever. We'll use whatever pronoun feels appropriate for that particular person. Free me from anger and resentment. You alone are my complete source for abundance. My finances are fully wrapped in divine order. My finances are fully wrapped in divine order, as is everything else. Every step on our life path is wrapped in divine order. Animals figured this out. Animals aren't all that attached to their physical being. So when they end up sacrificing themselves for food, thank you, Cindy, greatly appreciate it. Free me from anger and resentment. Yep, that piece can be very important also. Roadkill. Whenever I drive past roadkill, I put my hand up and send energy. Thank you for your sacrifice. Whatever message that was meant to give the person who hit them. So I have my little animal speak books, and I look up a particular animal. What am I meant to be? I want to do it for myself first. So let's say it's a deer. I hit a deer. That's not fun, by the way. If you've never hit a deer, it ain't fun. What was I meant to learn from this? So the last deer hit I had many, 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 many years ago, brand new car. It was 10:30 at night, way past my bedtime, but I was headed back from a week in Minneapolis teaching Psych K. And my daughter was home alone. She was a tween at that point. She'd been at her dad's, but now she was home. Good morning, Chrissy. Welcome. So I was still almost an hour away from home. Saw her coming up out of the ditch. It's January. It's icy. Hit the brakes. Nothing I could do. And nothing she could do, because once she hit the pavement, she was done. So managed to pull over, had a cell phone, all the blessings, right? Didn't spin out of control, didn't take out any other traffic, nothing. And there was no other traffic at that hour. Called 911, they sent an officer, she comes up to the car, and I said, yes. I cried also. I was pretty upset. And I said to the officer, did you see the deer? And she said, nope, but I saw where you hit her. And she said, there's no way she survived, and I'm sure she's in the median, but no, I didn't see her. So all of the blessings that came out of that, the tow truck person who came to pick me up at 10:30 at night, and probably I got him out of bed, right? Well, the officer had called him, and he loaded me on the flatbed, hauled me all the way back to Green Bay, almost an hour, dropped my car at the particular shop where I wanted it left, and then he took me home. Fabulous. all the wonderful people, right? And my lesson was, I was pretty newly divorced, and in that freak out place of, I'm not getting any money from him. I've got to support these kids. My son's now in college. He's going through not only the money I've saved for him, but also the money I've saved for his sister's college education. What the hell am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I need to work more. I need to work more. I need to work more. So the deer to me was a message of, you've got to slow down. You've got to get more conscious about your life and your choices, etc. Huge lesson. Huge, very helpful lesson. So, back to the story here. Let me release my karma with Tony by forgiving him and myself. Free me from anger and resentment. You alone are my complete source for abundance. My finances are fully wrapped in divine order. My friends thought I was a fool to forgive him, but over time, as I prayed repeatedly, it became easy to drop the whole mess. About 6 months later, when I'd almost forgotten the debacle, someone called who claimed to be Tony's associate. He said he had something for me. We agreed to meet at a cafe in Emeryville, and I dragged along my scrappiest, most tattooed and pierced pal as a bodyguard. But no need. Tony's sidekick was waiting calmly for me with a manila envelope filled with cash. He actually said, like someone who'd watched one too many episodes of The Sopranos, "Listen, honey, Tony scammed all over. I never saw him return nothing to no one. But he wanted you to have this, and believe me, he don't know why. To be honest, he's kind of rattled that he took it from you." So here's the deal. If you make God your source for all financial, emotional, and spiritual abundance, you open yourself to unexpected, unlimited good. Each individual person, place, or thing is just the temporary, transitory form the divine uses to bring you what you need. So as I read that, I'm also thinking to myself, two people I've had some difficulty with recently, and now wanting to look at them through a different lens. That's going to be my journaling this morning. A different lens. What are they here to teach me? What are they here to teach me? They're not here to make my life miserable. They're not here to poke all my buttons. What are they here to teach me? This will be interesting. I am certain that if I had stayed angry, Tony never would have returned the cash. My resentment would have blocked the flow. Praying to forgive him opened the door. But it also let divine source replace the funds however it chose. That's an important part. That's an important part. So when we demand that it's the person who injured us that's going to make the amends, we're setting ourselves up. I can't tell you how many survivors of abuse throw away their freedom by saying, he has to apologize to me. I'm waiting for him to own what he did. And I will tell you, in 40 years, yes, everybody's doing the best they can. And in some cases, it's abysmal. But it's the best they can, okay? In 40 years, 40 plus years of doing counseling, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, you name it, Psych K, EFT, all the stuff, right? In 40 years, I believe there were 2 women who had their perpetrator apologize. 2. So if you want to give away your power, trying to get that person to acknowledge what they did. And in both of those cases, the person did minimize somewhat. Well, it really didn't hurt you that much. I didn't think it was that big a deal, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't the nice, heartfelt forgiveness, mea culpa, that they were hoping for. That's not how this gig works, okay? And I also had one client, and I'll share this with you because it might put some grist in your mill. I had one client whose person had just passed away, old, and she, because of a health issue, had a near-death experience. And in that near-death experience, she saw her perpetrator bathed in light. And he basically explained to her that he had been someone sent to engage in this behavior to provoke her onto a healing path that otherwise she probably wouldn't have walked. That's what occurred in her near-death experience. Do I think it's that case for everybody? Probably not. And we may never know. What purpose was this supposed to serve in my life? This shitty thing that happened. But I get to decide what purpose that thing served in my life. How can I make this something that's useful to me, helpful to me, regardless of how crappy it was? How can I turn those lemons into lemonade? Okay, and she says, I'm going to read that last part again because I think that's important. I'm certain that if I had stayed angry, Tony could never have returned the cash. My resentment would have blocked the flow. Praying to forgive him opened the door. And again, sometimes we start with, God, can you forgive him? Because right now I can't. He's an asshole in my mind and I can't forgive him. We pray to God to forgive him, and then we can pray for ourselves to be able to forgive him, and then maybe we can forgive him. It may be a process. It may be a long process. However it goes, it goes. But we're embarking on the path, right? Praying to forgive him opened the door, but it also let divine source replace the funds however it chose. So it could have been any of a bazillion other ways. Rather than him sending his associate with a bag full of cash, it might have been she won the lottery. It might have been she got an inheritance. It might have been she returned something and got $5,000 for it. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's going to buy a car and they knock $5,000 off the price unexpectedly. How the money comes back is not her problem. Why is what she needs to focus on. I need to forgive Tony so as not to be embittering myself for the rest of my life and looking at people through the lens of how are you going to hurt me? Tony hurt me, now you're going to hurt me. No. That just messes up the present. It doesn't help the past, okay? If one supply dries up, there's always another. So there's the Tosha part of things. Now I want to share a real life example, hers was a real life example, another real life example. I'm just going to show you the pictures and tell you the story that happened in Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. So he is at a particular place giving a speech. He's on stage, and a Nazi sympathizer in the audience gets up, walks up on stage, and punches him repeatedly in the head. People react to protect him. People react capturing the guy who hit him, and all hell breaks loose for a period of time, right? Because by then he's already had death threats, etc., etc. He insists. He's in the back room. He's being examined by a doctor, etc. He insists that his assailant is brought to him, and you'll see in the second picture, surrounded by a group of people, and he absolutely refuses to press charges against this man who punched him in the face repeatedly. His statement was, we have to pray for him. We have to pray for him. And going back to the Brene Brown thing, him believing that this man thought he was doing what was most important. He was doing what was best. So I got to show you these pictures because pictures speak 1,000 words, right? So there he is being examined by the doctor. And there he is. Let me move it up a bit. Try to get the glare off the page. Face to face with the man who just punched him in the head, having a conversation and indicating that he's not going to press charges and that he exhorts his followers to pray for this man. That's pretty transcendent, don't you think? Especially when you have physical pain. That's pretty transcendent. Thinking about other circumstances that are similar to this. There have been how many people who've had their children murdered by somebody and in the courtroom say to that person, I forgive you. Again, what they're doing there is they're setting themselves free. They're setting the spirit of their child free. And they're setting the groundwork for that person potentially to do the inventory and do what can be done to make amends. The one of them I think about, good morning, Pat, or Pam, sorry, is a kid who drank too much, drove, and killed a kid who was in his car. And that kid's father saying to him, I forgive you. You've taken my son away from me for what you've done, but I forgive you. And that kid, as part of his ministry after the fact, speaking to high school groups about, please don't drink and drive. I've totally screwed up my entire life by doing so. Please don't do this. All of that grace, all of that wisdom. Hopefully, there's 14 of you on here right now. 14 of you. Hopefully now 13. Isn't that funny? These stories help you understand why it's so important to forgive, what that does for you, what it does for the person who offended against you, what it does for the energy of forgiveness as a whole. We're pouring into this bucket of forgiveness, which at some point is going to overflow and hopefully touch all of us. Because haven't we all done stuff, unwittingly or wittingly, that injured someone else? We all have. We all have. So again, who am I to sit in judgment of someone else? How many fingers are pointing back at me? Practicing that forgiveness. Carrie Fisher, brilliant quote that, staying angry, not forgiving, is like you drinking poison and expecting them to die. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. It wounds you. It hurts you. It shrivels your soul. Forgiveness can expand your soul. Is this easy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We can rise to the challenge. We can rise to the challenge. So that is your mission for today, should you choose to accept it. Looking back at when Shysters struck, and who do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive? And remember that in any pieces of those, oftentimes the biggest piece of forgiveness is toward ourselves. We always end up blaming ourselves for something that happened where we got hurt, right? On it. Fabulous. Good. You go. So let's see how it goes. If you want to share some stories in the feed, feel free. If you wanted to private message me, feel free. But this is your sacred work. Have an awesome Thursday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.